Today is KEXP's, they started it, Clash Day, International Clash Day. And I thought I would take this opportunity to defend my childhood, my adolescence. It's becoming rewritten. History is being obliterated. And my punk past is being wokeified by a bunch of and I don't like it. This clickbaity title, The Clash Are Right Wing, is obviously not totally true. I knew Joe Strummer. I wouldn't call us best friends, but hung out a few times, corresponded with him. Great guy. He knew where I stood politically, and I think he liked that. His brother David was in the National Front, and he was so stigmatized, David Strummer, that he killed himself. And I think Joe had a lot of respect for free speech, and he knew where us right-wingers were coming from. And this is the most important part of what I want to say. There was nuance back in the 80s when I was a punk rocker. There was nuance in the political sphere. We allowed for nuance. And as Jim Norton says, today, if you're not 100% with them, you're 100% against them. And that's fine for your culture. You're stupid.
Hi, this is Anthony Cumia.
Hello, I'm Gavin McInnes.
And together we're Compound Censored.
And we would like you to subscribe with this deal using this promo code right below me right now.
Do it, because it's very entertaining.
Fans, like the dude from Answer Me who's trans now, go ahead, have your dumb woke politics. But don't start meddling with my past. Like Mike, Fat Mike from NoFX Records and his punk museum, the first thing you see when you walk in is, I don't know, some trans and some chick and a bunch of LA bands no one's heard of. That's not what it was about. Even the Clash with Mick Jones, they're like, he was the only Jewish guy in the Clash. What? No one saw him as a Jew. No one gave a shit. Polystyrene and X-ray specs. They go, she was the only Somalian in the city. Shut the f up. All people knew about polystyrene was she had curly hair. I even noticed this with Karen O from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. This isn't punk now. I'm going into like alternative hipster music of the early aughts. And I remember her, Vice, my company discovered the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. And no one saw Karen O as half Asian. She's half Korean. Oh, Seoul, Korea, and the war, and the dichotomy between the North and the South, and America's role in the Christianity. That wasn't a thing. I'll tell you how we felt about Karen O. We felt she was kind of nuts, and we loved her and respected her, so we were very protective of her because she was one of us. I remember once I was at a bar. I think it was 2A or Second and Second. 2A, I think. And we were upstairs, some students who knew her from like NYU people, right? Uncool people. One of the guys was trying to talk to her. And I felt protective like everyone else that was around her. And he was like, Karen. I just thought, this guy. And I took the lemon out of my drink. I guess I was having a vodka tonic. And I just went, pew. And I threw it at the guy, and I don't know, serendipity, I got him right on the eyeball. And he's like, ow, fuck. Anyway, I found out later it was a good friend of hers, and he wasn't bothering her at all. And I was being a little overprotective of young Karen. And then her stylist, whatever the name's Joy, said, hey, Gavin. And I just ignored her, because I knew she was mad about the lemon incident. And she goes, did you throw a lemon in Mark's eye? And I just go, and I'm talking to someone else. And she goes, hey, I'm talking to you. Gavin. And I said, yes, I did. And if you don't shut the f***, I'm going to throw a lemon in your eye. And then we became arch enemies after that. Anyway, little side note. But I saw Karen O writing in some like modern thing about being a woman of color in the scene in New York City in the early aughts. That I deeply resent that. I deeply resent it with the Beastie Boys. They go, no, License to Ill, we were playing characters. No, you weren't. It was awesome what you did. It was stupid. You know, you had Ricky Powell, you had your own personal drug dealer. But I'll get to this in a second, by the way. There's chicks backstage. Zoom out a bit on me. Yeah, like you're throwing beer on them. You're putting peanut butter on their tits and stuff. You're 19, 20 years old. You're not supposed to be politically correct or even smart. You should be pouring beer on everyone. There should be whipped cream on tits. We didn't take it seriously. And then you got older and you got more, PC, and that dude got all into East Timor and that's fine too. But don't blaspheme this. I love, by the way, that all of their money comes from this album too. Nothing came close to the sales of License to Ill. But don't go back in time and say this was a joke, this wasn't real, we were mocking you. No, I want to preserve history. Whether it's taking down Confederate statues or pretending that the Beastie Boys were kidding when they were acting like complete assholes, I don't accept that. You may not do that. So I want to briefly here on the Clash Day talk about how, yes, generally punk rock was left-wing. It was generally socialist. The Clash did have an album called Sandinista. We did treat the Indians in a way that, to those for whom the Sermon on the Mount was divine command, did not seem indicative of our behavior. I'm paraphrasing Pat Buchanan there. But there was right-wing stuff too. And, like I was kind of a right-wing guy later in life, and it got an eye roll. Yeah, like I used to wear a shirt that said "Speak English" with an American flag. And I had a screwdriver belt buckle, being ironic. And no one was like, what the is with the belt buckle? They laughed and they said, can I get one of those? Where'd you get that? That's insane, dude. Pouring honey on broads. And the Speak English thing, people didn't agree with me, but there was an eye roll. Like, I'm going sort of post-punk now into like the early aughts, late 90s, but there was a record label, Amphetamine Reptile, Supernova, The Cows, lots of great bands on it. And the owner, Tom Hazelmeyer, he named her daughter Reagan. No one gave a shit. It's like, oh, Tom and his crazy right-wing stuff. They just went, oh, he's a right-wing guy. He liked Reagan, so he named his daughter Reagan. Now, today, if a guy who owned a record label named his daughter Trump, the record label would be over, all the bands would leave. I mean, we see it happening. We were talking this week about, what are those bands? Turnstile.
And the Set.
So the Set is his new band.
Yeah.
So Turnstile kicked out their guitarist because he was not hating Ice enough. And then the other band, what were they called? Reflections?
Something like that.
Another sort of metal band kicked out two of the guys in their band because they didn't hate Ice enough. Like, they want borders enforced. Remember, there was that band Dream Machine. Now we're really drifting far from punk. And they were vilified many years ago, totally canceled in the scene because they said, well, I'm an immigrant. The keyboardist was from the Netherlands. I'm an immigrant, and I'm glad they're getting rid of at least the gang members and stuff. Now, again, that is the modern way, the woke way. It infiltrated punk, and I'm not fighting against that per se. I'm fighting against my childhood, my adolescence, GBH, Crass, The Clash. Those are all very different bands, by the way. In fact, Crass hated The Clash, and I loved both those bands. And that is why I had my tattooist, Scott Campbell, make me this out of wood. And it is a laser engraving of the lyrics to White Punks on Hope. And it says, they said that we were trash, but our name is Crash, not Clash. They can stuff their punk credentials. It's them that takes the cash. They won't change nothing with their fashionable walk. RAR badge, that's Rock Against Racism. RAR badge and their process walk. So this is an anti-Marxist song by the anarchist band Crass. Thousands of white men standing in a park. They're talking about like woke activists. This is back in probably 79, 1980. Objecting to racism is like a candle in the dark. Black man's got his problems and his way to deal with it. So don't fool yourself you're helping with your white liberal shit. Can you pull up this song? I think it's in the notes. If you care to take a closer look to the way things really stand, you'll see we're all just to the rulers of this land. Punk was once an empty years of crap. What do you say? No, and we all said, yep. Politics and class, left-wing machos, blah, blah, blah. They said, They said because of racism, they were out on the street. It's just a form of fascism for the social elites. Here we go. This is my favorite line. Bigotry and blindness, a Marxist con. Another clever trick to keep us all in line. So this obsession with fighting racism is a Marxist con. All you hate watch losers who are like, I'm affiliated with Antifa, but I'm a journalist. Anyway, here's my book about fighting hate amongst the conservative right. Shut the f*** up. You're a Marxist dupe. Neat little labels keep us all in line. And then he says, pogo on a Nazi, spit upon a Jew. Vicious, mindless violence that offers nothing new. Left-wing violence, right-wing violence, all seems about the same. Bully boys up fighting, it's just the same old game. Boring politics will get us all shot. Turn that up. Bigotry and blindness. I like that they got Steve Ignorant singing, who's an East London tough guy. Yeah, what you doing, mate? And then they have Penny Rimbaud, this sort of grew up wealthy, upper middle class guy with his insane vocabulary and perfect education, where, like Mick Jones, he knows all about the war in Crimea and the lance and the musket and the Roman spear. So crafts were kind of deceitful in that sense. I'm off on a tangent right now, by the way, where they had a working class guy singing upper middle class lyrics. But that's neither here nor there. So before I get to the Clash, I just want to talk about early 80s kind of punk and hardcore. It's when punk was dying. Punk sort of died in 1979, and it had its last gasp in the early 80s. But at the same time, America invented hardcore and said, punk's gay, you guys dress up too much, and the music's too slow, and it's inefficient. It sounds like glam. You sound like Mott the Hoople or something. Or what are they called? Sledge? Sudge? Who did Quiet Riot? We're not going to, no, Come On Feel the Noise.
That was Quiet Riot made it popular, yeah.
No, but who are they covering?
Oh, I don't know, yeah.
The glam band that was really the progenitor of punk was British glam. Look that up. Sledge? Sled? Slurred?
Slade.
Slade. You sound like Slade. So they make hardcore. So I was lucky enough to be in the death of punk and the birth of hardcore at the same time. So the shows we would go to would be punk and hardcore. We'd see GBH one night, and then we would see our local bands like Honest Engine and Dead Trout, and I was in bands that were kind of hardcore and punk combined. And it was all over the map, and we didn't care. Look at Johnny Ramone there before you get to... He was dearly loved by all the left-wing punks, and he hated commies, and he hated hippies. He hated politics in general, which goes back to that White Punks on Hope song lyrics I was just spouting. But vote communist or socialist, Workers' Party, People's Government, you. They say, holy shit, the yippies are still around. The Ramones are so old. That's like a 60s thing. Yeah. So here are some random examples of the music I grew up with. Even though I concede punk and hardcore were generally left-wing, but when it was right-wing, there was no, you're dead. Like last night, I was talking to Tom, and the cop, and he was like, I have no friends because of you. So you can't even like not hate me and retain friends. And this guy's a cop. By the way, I had a great idea for his bachelor party. He's like, you're my only, you guys are my only friends now because of Trump and this show and everything. I want to do a bachelor party. And I'm like, bachelor parties, like Scott Campbell, the tattooist who made me that thing. That was like the last bachelor party I went to with naked ladies. And it's just like, we're getting old now. We've seen naked ladies. The bachelor party comes from the 50s where you've never seen a naked lady before. I've hundreds of broads. I'm not proud of that. Been to a million strip clubs. Like if I'm hanging out with the guys, first of all, I don't want a woman there at all. But a naked woman? Hi. I was at a party in Britain. I've told you about this. We're out in Wales, out in the mud at this campsgrounds. And then this naked lady shows up and her big tits are hanging out. And we're just like, oh, fuck. And the birthday guy needed to get tits in his face and whipped cream and all this stuff. And we wandered away as they were like abusing him with their tits because we wanted to get to the bonfire and get back to like talking about music and stuff. as my buddy Jamie pointed out, he goes, the only thing I wanted to talk about with her was the economics of what she does and how does she, hide her money and what does she make generally, and could she buy a car with the cash, and don't the government want to know about it? Anyway, my idea with Tom, again, this is a very tangent-heavy episode, Bachelorette. We get red sequined baseball, cowboy hats, feather boas. We have glasses with penises on them. We have like tiaras with penises all over them. We're wearing like penis shirts. We're carrying foam penises. And you have to drink girl drinks all night. We're probably going to get headaches from the sugar. But like apple martinis, pina coladas, whatever these broads drink. It's a bachelorette party, but for guys. Wouldn't that be funny?
I think it's funny.
We do a pub crawl. We won't dress in drag, but maybe wear like white cowboy boots. I don't know. So that's my idea. But anyway, sorry, back to the matter at hand. I'm not even at the Clash yet. But when I was young in the GBH, this band here, this just occurred to me as I was getting ready to record this. They had a song called Slut, Dirty Bitch. Let's play some of that.
All right.
He was a really cool guy. He had a totally cool voice. We really had the look down in the 80s. Okay, jump in the middle. I want to see you in the nude. Let's find the lyrics to that. That's in the next link, I think. You keep the music going when you get the lyrics. All right. Bop, beep, bop, beep, bop, beep, bop. And these lyrics should be totally acceptable. And I wanted you because of your bust, and now I want a night of lust. Can't wait around here anymore, so take me home, you dirty. I've had too many pints of poison, now I want to try your pants on. I don't care if you're really crude, I want to see you in the nude. You get what I'm saying? Well, here's a better example. There was a Canadian punk band, not hardcore. That GBH were kind of a combination of punk and hardcore. They called it D-Beat, I believe, after the band Discharge. But Forgotten Rebels were from Toronto, and they had a song called Bomb the Boats, about the boat people from Vietnam, Southeast Asia, I don't know where. Bomb the boats, feed the fish, meaning don't let these people over, just bomb their boat. I wish they would do that in the English Channel right now. Now, they got a lot of shit for this later on in life. When it came out, everyone thought it was funny and cool, and I think he lied and said he was playing a character. I've met this guy a couple times. Mickey something? When I met him, he had a shirt that said Bomb Iraq, and that was probably like 92, or maybe 90. I don't want no foreign pricks to take my job away from me. I don't want them in my home, I don't want them finding me alone. This is a pro-ICE song. Now, he's since said, no, that was a conversation I heard in a lineup, and I was just being that character. I don't believe you. But the important part of that isn't really whether he was being a character. It's that when we were kids, I was probably 19 when this song was big, or at least when I discovered it. And we didn't go like, is he being a character? Or does he really want to bomb the boats? Because that's up. We were just like, this is a crazy song. That's the crux of what I'm trying to get at today. That it was the opposite of the Jim Norton, if you're either 100% with us or 100% against us. We allowed for nuance. So I was definitely left-wing at the age of 19. But this song I thought was funny and cool and weird and interesting and violent. And, it was art. We appreciated the art. And this socialist, Marxist, Dropkick Murphys calling ICE Proud Boys and saying, you're taking away from the nuance, and it's all left-wing propaganda, and that is gray. When everyone's the same, it's gray. You kick out your vocalist or your guitarist because he supports ICE. Now everyone on stage feels the same about everything. That's grayness. That's communism. That's Maoist. That's the Ottoman Empire. That's Islam. I don't want that. I want the nuance and color. Look at all my different pins. And here's an extreme example would be the Meatmen. That was run by a teacher named Tesco V, and all their songs were over the top. And we loved it. Like, I'm glad I'm not a girl. You have to sit down to pee? Fuck that. Go ahead. They look for love. We look for meat. It's very hard to hear the lyrics. Actually, down to I Sin for a Living. Skip Tooling for Anus right now. And he goes, they're okay, but I couldn't understand the words. So he explains the words for I Sin for a Living. Let's hear the lyrics to this particular jam.
They were okay, but I couldn't understand the words. Here's the first verse of I Sin for a Living. Burn the little panties off of nubiles with a Bunsen burner. Slim on that maturity, but Jesus fuck.
This is a teacher.
Firmer. Pick them up for grease too, and by God, they're going to driver's ed. That's okay, because Mom will dork me in that queen-size parent's bed.
You hear that?
Yep.
He wanted to pick them up for grease too, but they weren't there. They were driver's ed. So. Or how about this song, making fun of gays, Tooling for Anus. Detroit City is the place to be if you want to blow menjos or stiff junkies, pack some brown or shoot some glue.
We're not tooling for anus.
We're not tooling for anus. Like would mosh to this. You know what I mean? And then, of course, we have the Descendants. They've since changed the lyrics. They were big in the 80s hardcore scene, but now they do a reunion tour and probably make $1 million. So they're not going to say no to that, but they do acquiesce into this woke culture, and they've changed the lyrics to "I'm not a loser." You think that I'm a loser because my pants are too big? This is the only West Coasty, post-punky, post-hardcore, singy hardcore I will tolerate. So I have a dirty shirt. But this song ends with assholes. Turn it down a bit. Your pants are too tight, you homos. You suck, Mr. Butt. You don't belong here. Go away, you I'm not a loser. Like, that's how we all talked back then. That's how young people should talk. It's not well-crafted sentences that keep everyone's feelings in check. You don't give a feelings when you're a teenager. And that's why I'm doing all this, is because they're wrecking teenagedom. Teenagedom should be all over the place. It should be messy and dumb and offend people. Like the Peter and the Test Tube Babies song, "Come on, you dirty bastards, keep Britain untidy." Just telling you to throw litter everywhere. And then you have like the New York scene where they were around Puerto Ricans on welfare. They lived in squats. They saw people mooching off the system, and it pissed them off. And the West Coast punks would go, "Oh my Lord, what you're saying is very offensive." And they're like, "I'm in it, dude." Like Public Assistance. It's Agnostic Front song. You spend your life on welfare lines or looking for handouts. Why don't you go find a job or birth more kids to up your checks? So these guys stayed in squats in the East Village. They know what they're talking about. They're not like these bands that write about killing cops and pretend that the cops bother them all day. Cops did bother these guys. So you can buy more drugs, cash in food stamps, and get drunk. Uncle Sam takes half my pay so you can live for free. I got a family and bills to pay. No one hands money to me. You can go to school for nothing, get money in advance. Got that government grant when you're sick from shooting up. Medicaid pulls full portion. When little Maria gets knocked up, she gets a free abortion. How come it's minorities who cry things are too tough on TV with their gold chains, claim they don't have enough? I say make them clean the sewers. Now, there was nerds like Tim Yo of Maximum Rock and Roll who were mortified and clutched his punk pearls to Agnostic Front, but it was all part of it. It was their inclusiveness included intolerance. Then there was type O negative. They were basically the exact same politically, where they just had enough.
I don't like the idea of, being branded a Nazi. And it's funny because back in the States, they call us communists because we have long hair.
Long hair. I think they were from Long Island.
Too, that one of the members of type O negative happens to be Jewish. I myself am of Slavic descent. I'm from the United States of America. I've got a right to say what I want to say. And this is censorship.
Een van de gebruikte passages uit het werk van Type O Negative komt uit het nummer.
And then if you really want to get deep in the weeds, which we won't do, there's plenty of pro-life punk and hardcore, or they're anti-abortion. A lot of them would come at it from vegetarianism and veganism and say animal rights, and then like, you know what, even those disgusting human beings should have rights like the unborn babies. Don't eat eggs, because that's an unborn baby, and don't kill human beings. Again, this was all part of the scene. This is Conflict, inspired by Crass, one of my favorite bands. This is, the chord is cut. Go to the lyrics. It's hard to hear what Colin is saying. We opened for them once, recently, in my cover band, 80s Hardcore. The chord is cut. No need for separation, successful elimination, extermination of degradation, essential heart feed stopping. She strives on alone and makes the best of no one. Set fast clamp, nothing of tossing away a life, like bunk in a condom. Time's hard, life's short. And then you had Earth's Crisis. They were very extreme. So they are such huge animal rights guys, like don't wear leather and don't have glue because glue comes from horses. But they also ended up pro-life by protecting animals like human beings. And then they got shit for it. See, when you get to later bands like this, Type O Negative, you end up on the threshold of when there was nuance allowed and when it was essentially fascist. If everyone in the audience and everyone on the stage has to think the same, is that not what fascism is? It's definitely communism. And then there's Flatfoot 56, Fight to Live. It's funny, I used to do their song Courage as my intro to the show, the Gavin McInnes show, and then they started getting in shit because of Proud Boys and me. So they said, can you please stop using our song? So I switched it to The Card Cheat by The Clash. They're pretty religious. I think you could call them right-wing, blue-collar Chicagoans. All right. So there's no rules. That's what punk was. No rules. And if you want me to find pro-life stuff, I can. If you want me to find anti-welfare stuff, I can. If you want me to find anti-Marxist anarchists, I can. If you want me to find guys that are for bombing the boats to feed the fish, I can. That's the way it should be. As our good pal Mao said, let 1,000 flowers bloom. And then there's just general redneck, like Gangrene. They didn't really care about politics. They just loved Bud. That's what was important to them. That's an album cover. It's kind of like SoCal skate punk, I guess. There's another Bud album they did. We know of no other band who can drink so much. Their conducive beach party attitude. Did they spell beach wrong? Another case of brutality with a shitty picture of a broken Budweiser bottle. What a terrible picture that is.
That's really bad.
It's really half-assed. And then there was Fear. I mean, politically, I guess what they were known for is hating New York. They're on West Coast, headed by Lee Ving, who had a half-decent acting career in Hollywood. But this album cover caused them problems. You get my point, right? It's all over the map, and don't take that away from me. Don't take adolescence away from teenagers, I guess is what I'm saying. Oh, this is like some cheap ass.
Yeah.
Like this was considered dangerous. All right, so anyway, let's get to the Clash. Joe Strummer, he was like Penny Rimbaud of Crass, like a lot of these bands, a rich kid. And he was into multiculturalism because as he traveled the world, he would see the top brass of everywhere he went to. But thanks to, I think, to his brother's suicide, he was also fairly cynical. And he would call out it, even when it was black and cool. So he had I think, an unfair bias in favor of all the different cultures in the world. And that's what happens when you're a rich kid who travels young. But thanks to his brother's death, he was also not a one-sided figure. This is Bank Robber, sort of a reggae jam. Because of one of the punks was of Jamaican descent, Don Letts, all punks around the world were allowed to enjoy reggae. I don't know why. I was part of it. I liked it. So I just want to give you some examples in chronological order of the Clash being right-wing. And that, we've been talking for, half an hour now, and I'm now just starting the Clash Day show. Let's start with their first album, their debut eponymous album, The Clash, and the song White Riot. Now, how right-wing does this sound? Here it comes. Coming up, there's Mick Jones the Jew. White, I want to riot, white, riot, a riot of my own. White, riot, I want to riot, white, riot, a riot of my own. I want a white riot. White people go to school, too chick and even try it. So this is back in the late 70s when there was a massive influx of Jamaicans. Jamaica made the mistake of demanding independence from Britain in 1969. And after 5 years, they went, this sucks. The island's falling apart. Can we come home? So they said yes. And obviously, when there's a big influx of any group, even if they're white Finns, you're going to have some culture shock. So there was riots on the street, and the Jamaicans, the Yardies as they called them, were fighting the cops because I guess they were probably being douchebags. And Joe's take was, this is cool, these Jamaicans fighting the cops. Why don't white people do that? Why don't whites stand up for their own rights? Why don't we have a white riot? We're looking at a black riot on the news every day. How about a white riot? Like, that's right out of Richard Spencer. That's beyond Nick Fuentes. And that was their first big hit. And then we had the next album, I think this was on Give 'Em Enough Rope, Safe European Home. And so Jamaica was so popular in the punk scene that they would get into reggae. They had that song Bank Robber I just showed you. And he went down to Kingston, Jamaica to record. Now, I think it's very safe to go to Jamaica now. It's a dangerous place. But they finally got it in their thick Rastafarian skulls that if you don't have any money. So you could see a shootout go down in Kingston, and they'll make sure they don't hit you if you're white because they don't want to sully tourism. But this wasn't the case back in 77 when Joe went there to record.
The people that are on this stage and are going to come on and have been on it already, we're nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Can you understand that?
What's he saying? Anyway, so he went to Jamaica to record, and he was like, this is dangerous. I don't like Jamaica. I want to get these black people want to kill me. And just turn it down a bit. The important lyrics here are, well, I just got back and I wish I'd never leave now. He's back home in Britain.
Where did you go?
Who that Martian arrival at the airport? How many local dollars for a local anesthetic? The Johnny on the corner wasn't very sympathetic. I went to the place where every white face is an invitation to robbery. And I'm sitting here in my safe European home. Don't want to go back there again. I don't want to go to Jamaica again. I experienced racism as a white person, and they wanted to rob me. They treated me like shit there. It's not safe. He's basically saying what Scott Adams said. He's basically sipping his punk mug and saying, stay away from black people. Obviously, Sandinista, named after communist rebels. You're not going to get a lot of right-wing stuff on that particular 4-disc album, which is a slow burn. I highly recommend you put that on shuffle in your car and get used to it over weeks, but that's neither here nor there. Then we have, back to 1978, A White Man in Hammersmith Palace. So that was a famous venue that bands would play in. And he was getting into reggae again. And a lot of these themes with Joe and The Clash was, this is one of their best songs, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
If Adolf Hitler were here today. Dillinger and Leroy Smart, Delroy Wilson, you cool operator. UK Pop Brigade. The way that when this chorus, or whatever you want to call it, when the drop happens, okay, so Jamaica's very popular. They're going to play it at Hammersmith Palace, and he's all excited. Well, I'll just read you this summation of it. Uses Joe Strummer's attendance at an all-night reggae music festival, which found both disappointing and discomforting. He was pretty much the only white person there and was made to endure all sorts of taunts and threats. As a way of commenting on the toxic contemporary race relations, rank socioeconomic equality, the mock counterculture hijinks of rival bands that were really only in it for the cash. And that's why in the song, Joe goes, they think it's funny turning rebellion into money. He goes, why not phone up Robin Hood and ask him for some wealth distribution? He sings, before claiming that if Adolf Hitler flew in, the folks would send him a limo to pick him up. So anyway, long story short, this reggae festival was a total shit show ripoff. All these legends were super late. The sound was terrible. It was just a bunch of lazy black Jamaicans cashing in on their recent popularity and making him feel threatened and taunting him and almost fighting him. And he was like the Safe European Home song. Like, once again, it's another Jamaica's overrated and black people are dangerous song. And then I think this is my last example. I got all the lyrics written out, so it's, yeah. My last example is Rock the Casbah. Not an anti-black song per se, but an anti-Muslim song. We had the revolution in Iran in 1979, where communists took over and they made the mistake of trusting Islam to be their allies and hold spots in the government. Islam took over the government and sent that country back, I'm going to say 500 years, conservatively. And the Shah of Iran, and then later the Ayatollah Khomeini, didn't like rock music. No, they want it banned. So that's what the chorus of Rock the Casbah is. Shah really don't like it. No, the Sharif don't like it, rocking the Casbah. By order of the Prophet Muhammad, we ban that boogie sound. Like, that's what's happening in Britain right now with allowing Muhammad to dictate British culture. Degenerate the faithful with that crazy Casbah sound. So he's saying, Sharif, play rock and roll as much as you want. Enjoy yourselves, Iran. But the Bedouin, they brought out the electric camel drum. The local guitar picker got his guitar picking thumb. As soon as the sheriff had cleared the square, they began to wail. It's ironic that we're talking about this now when you have all this rebellion in Iran and women are taking off their headdresses and beginning to wail. They're fighting back against Iran's Islamic oppression. So no, the Clash are not really a right-wing band, but the beauty of my adolescence and pre-woke Western culture was you were allowed to have some nuance. Even Sandinista socialists like the Clash could say, black people are violent, Jamaica's overrated, and Islam tortures us. And I want to bring that back. Can we have some nuance, please? The arts will never be disproportionately right-wing. But can you carve us out a little corner to survive, please?
So, if you enjoyed that clip,
then subscribe to Compound Censored using this promo code.